We'll have a moment of silence at the beginning of this special council meeting. Thank you. I'd ask you all to be seated. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. We have a presentation from staff and we have delegations. I'm going to start with a special note from the chair. The purpose of today's meeting is to receive comments from the community on the regional official plan and to identify any revisions that may be required to the regional official plan as part of the ongoing review. Today's special meeting of council is required under Section 26, subsection 3 of the Planning Act. The notice for this public meeting was advertised in the record on August 7th, 2019 and August 16th, 2019. Delegations will be heard today, but no decisions will be made. Anyone in attendance today will be given the opportunity to speak. Please keep your comments within 5 minutes. Delegations are reminded to give their full name at the beginning of their presentation. Anyone speaking on behalf of a group is asked to please identify that party that they are representing. Regional staff will summarize any comments heard today as part of a future report to Regional Council. If you wish to be notified of further meetings on the Regional Official Plan Review, please add your contact information to the sign-in sheets provided at the entrance of the chamber today. Written comments may be submitted to the Regional Clerk as well. At this point, I will call on the regional staff to give a brief overview of the regional official plan. Mr. Regier?
Well, first, to start off, I would like to note that this is the first of 4 public consultation sessions that we will have during the process of the Municipal Comprehensive Review. And in addition, we will have opportunities to provide input through Engage Waterloo Region and a variety of other fora. So this is certainly not the only time people will be invited to participate in this process.
Thank you very much. Would staff like to make a presentation?
Good afternoon, Chair Redman and members of Regional Council. My name is Alyssa Bridge, and I'm a Principal Planner in Community Planning. Earlier this year, the region formally initiated a review of the Regional Official Plan. The review is anticipated to be complete in 2020 and will result in an official plan amendment that will be considered by Regional Council. As Chair Redman said, today's meeting is required under the Planning Act to seek public input on the Regional Official Plan. Today's meeting marks the first consultation with the public in a series of public consultation events that will be held over the course of the ROP Review project. Input received from delegations today's meeting, as well as written submissions, will be used to inform and refine the scope of the Regional Official Plan Review. Ontario's Planning Act requires that the region prepare and update an official plan. The Regional Official Plan is a legal document that contains goals, objectives, and policies that manage and direct land use change and its effect on the cultural, social, economic, and natural environment within the region. Once approved, the Planning Act requires that all regional and area municipal public works, area municipal official plans, and land use-related bylaws, and all future development must conform to the Regional Official Plan. The current Regional Official Plan was adopted by Regional Council in June 2009 and was approved by the Ontario Municipal Board in 2015. It sets out how the region will grow to the year 2031 and provides for the protection of prime agricultural areas, natural heritage features, and water resources. The existing Regional Official Plan provides a strong foundation upon which to build the current Regional Official Plan Review. Some of the key ROP policies include intensification targets and designated greenfield area densities. So the ROP currently requires that a minimum of 45% of all residential development occurs annually within the built-up area, and the built-up area is the dark purple area on the map in front of you. Regional staff monitor the achievement of this target on an annual basis, and this minimum target has been met or exceeded for the past 8 years. The ROP also sets density targets for designated greenfield areas, which are the light purple areas on the map. It requires that these areas develop at a minimum density of 50 persons and jobs per hectare. The ROP also designates the protected countryside and the countryside line designations. These two designations are unique to the region of Waterloo. The protected countryside identifies a continuous band of environmental features and agricultural lands that are to be permanently protected from urban development pressures and to provide for the continued use of these lands for agriculture, environment, and other rural uses. The countryside line represents the long-term boundary between the existing urban area or township urban area and the countryside. Where the countryside line coincides with the protected countryside, the countryside line is considered to be a permanent boundary. This means that expansions to the urban area or township urban area boundary cannot take place in these locations. The regional official plan also contains a green lands network, which is a layered approach to environmental protection. The green lands network is comprised of landscape level systems, such as the environmentally sensitive landscapes. It also includes core environmental features, such as significant woodlands, and supporting environmental features. Each layer contains policies that provide the appropriate protection to the areas of environmental significance. The ROP also designates an area called the Regional Recharge Area. This area contains portions of the Waterloo Moraine and functions to replenish deep underground aquifers that serve as a source for the region's drinking water supplies. Expansions to the urban area boundary are not permitted into areas designated as a Regional Recharge Area. So there are a number of reasons why we're reviewing the ROP at this time. Firstly, the Planning Act requires that municipalities review their official plan every 5 years. In addition to this, since the ROP was adopted by Regional Council in June 2009, the provincial policy planning framework has continued to evolve. So in April of 2014, a new provincial policy statement came into effect. The provincial policy statement provides policy direction on matters of provincial interest related to land use planning and development. Municipalities are required to update their official plans to be consistent with the PPS. As well, a place to grow the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe came into effect on May 16th, 2019. The growth plan establishes a long-term framework for where and how the Greater Golden Horseshoe, which includes the region of Waterloo, will grow. The growth plan forecasts that the region will grow to 835,000 people and 100,000 jobs by the year 2041. Municipalities must update their official plans to conform to the growth plan by July 1st, 2022 through a process called the Municipal Comprehensive Review. The current ROP review will fulfill the requirements of a Municipal Comprehensive Review. Some of the key components currently anticipated for the ROP review include assessing land need to accommodate forecasted population and employment growth to 2041. It will also allocate the forecasted population growth and employment growth to the area municipalities. It will review and determine intensification and density targets. It will delineate station area boundaries and set density targets for station areas associated with the ION system. It will review and implement the provincial agricultural and natural heritage systems, and it will also designate employment lands and consider employment land conversions. As mentioned, today's meeting marks the first consultation in a series of public consultation events that will be held over the course of the ROP review project. Input received from delegations at today's meeting, as well as written submissions, will be used to inform and refine the scope of the ROP review. The first round of public consultation centers on the ROP are anticipated to be held this November, and we'll be seeking input on the proposed urban structure for the ROP, proposed employment area designations, and proposed major transit station areas. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Alyssa. I have Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair Redman. You went fast. Are we required to use the 2041 places to grow population estimates, or is that a guideline?
Through you, Chair Redman, yes, we're required to use the population and employment forecasts that are provided through the growth plan.
Just note that we have tended to lag behind those estimates. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we recognize that the targets provided by the growth plan are ambitious, but the legislation in the growth plan itself require that we plan to that population and employment forecast.
Thanks.
Councillor Galloway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know you don't want to get into a long discussion on anything. You want to get to the delegations, but Alyssa, I just wondered whether or not in the draft there's any specific new policies or existing policies that have been rejigged to deal with climate action.
Through you, Chair Redman, both the new growth plan and the proposed provincial policy statement that's out for consultation right now contain direction to municipalities with respect to climate change.
So we'll see some reflection of that in our new plan.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Jowett.
So my question's about similar. It's about policy review when it comes to housing quotients. So, for example, we intentionally put policy in place to take our 80% home single-family dwellings to 20%, and at the time 20% condos. And I'm kind of generalizing here over to, for example, 20% housing or single-family housing to 80% condo to stimulate the inventory for entry-level housing, I believe, to some degree. There's probably more to it than that, but are we looking now to a policy change that might sort of rebalance some of that because of the result being single-family homes have skyrocketed to an unaffordable place as far as a lot of people say, and yet we're still trying to balance the fact that we don't have enough housing as it is. So big, complicated question, but is it being considered?
Through you, Chair Redmond, certainly yes. So one of the changes that came out of the new growth plan in May was reductions in the density targets required for municipalities. So in the previous version of the growth plan, we would have been required to plan to a density of 80 persons and jobs per hectare, which would have required far fewer single detached homes and far more higher density forms of housing in order to achieve that. The density target is now set at 50 persons and jobs per hectare, which provides a lot more flexibility in the types of housing that can be built in order to reach that target.
Oh, okay. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. I see no further questions. Thank you for your presentation. We have 3 people who have already registered to be delegations, and you will have 5 minutes each. The first one is Kunle. And I'm going to ask you to come up rather than embarrass myself and insult you and ask you to say your last name into the for the record. Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, Chair Karen. Good evening, and all members of council. My name is Kunle Oluwogure, and I am the president of Lions Men's Ministry, that's Gospel Television, at 1700 Cramp Road in Breslau. Okay, so I'm here this evening to actually request that 1700 Cramp Road in Breslau be considered into the regional official plan that's going to be coming up shortly. A little introduction to the area's original plan. We have the Waterloo Regional Council and the Woolwich Township Council identified the location, which is Breslau Ghost Station, for the best location for it to be on Greenhouse Road in Breslau. This has been in the plans and in the works for a while now, dating back from 2016, from when I can remember. We did a lot of PTEs for Metrolinx, unaware of the real intentions, but down the road, it was clear to us that Metrolinx was interested in a land to put the Breslau GO station. Now, we are currently zoned institutional. We're a church, and we have an agricultural land, which has a rural area. We're considered to be legal, non-conforming. Other property, which is 1700 Cramp Road, we have about 34.5 acres of land with a church auditorium that can seat up to 2,400 people on the main floor and the lower space. A total of about 44,000 square foot property, currently having about 5 churches, all meeting differently in different locations in the premises. And we have a Christian television station that's called Gospel Television, and the property also hosts a lot of other community-based programs. Now, if you look at the map that I have on the stage, we have a yellow boundary, which actually demarcates the settlement area, which is to the west and to the north. Those areas are considered to be urban areas, and we at the 1700 Cramp Road in Breslau, we just consider to be rural. The boundaries that you see there actually just, if you were to extend the one stroke going all the way up, that would be considered to be the Greenhouse Road. And right in front is called the Cramp Road. Development has reached this area very strongly, and we're expecting to have roughly about 4,000 neighbors coming next to us within the next maybe couple of years. So in anticipation for this growth and many things that are happening, we really want to indulge council to look at us differently and have us moved into the Breslau settlement plan to aid this process. Now, the Breslau GO station was proposed to us by Metrolinx, like I said earlier on, in hopes that they can bring the traffic down on highways, which we've already seen all the business plans for it from Metrolinx, dating back from 2016 and 2018. The area is supposed to be able to have a parking space of up to about 1,000 vehicles, as according to what Metrolinx plans had shown. Now, currently on our land, I have a very short time, so I'm very brief on all these areas. On our land, we have about 5 acres that host the auditorium right in front and the parsonage, and we have 20 acres that's used for sod farming, and the remaining 10 acres are just for regular farmable land waiting for seasonal use. Now, the provincial project proposed by Metrolinx is to have the Breslau GO station be built at for the Kitchener corridor, which is just going to be by the rail tracks. This is going to allow also a transit-oriented development around the area, which we're hoping is going to fit right into the council's plan for housing, especially in the region. We hope that the density living matches up also with what the region is planning. And for this reason, we just want to show you a little concept plan that we do have. We're hoping to have, to the left, which we have the Community Recreation Center. Now, this is in anticipation for the growth that is coming there. Over 4,000 neighbors suddenly show up at your next door. You probably want to have some things for them to work with. Now, this being that we are a compassionate organization, this is part of our objectives, that we can actually help the neighborhood and the region take the load off some of the weight of what's coming down. Now, we also have a proposed retirement long-term care housing, which is also supposed to be part of the 300 units that we're hoping that can have condos for the density living. And also at the bottom there is the Ghost train station that Metrolinx has been proposing with us, and we're working closely in partnership with them at the moment. Now, the municipal services that you might wonder might be a hurdle, some of them have been taken away. We have the gas utility that's already reached the property. That's our property. Sewer on the border of our property. Also, water is on the border by Thomasfield, and electricity. So we will be covering the cost of extending the services to the Breslau GO station and other proposed buildings that I've just shown you according to the plan that developers and ourselves have. So here I'm hoping that the objectives of the Waterloo Region Planning and the Lions Mains Ministry Board of Directors lines up. A need for the transportation in the rail system to address the traffic issue in the region, which is the Breslau Ghost Station. A need for affordable housing, especially for the seniors residents, and also employment increase in the region. I'm bringing this to council in hope that this review can actually include us. I might not be able to speak in 5 minutes about the whole benefits, but I have some handouts available to all council members to go through and see if you will be able to include us in this review.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the delegation? Councillor Galloway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Oluwogure, when you said that you would be paying for the extension of services to the GO station, is that an agreement you already have with Metrolinx?
Yeah, Metrolinx and us have an understanding that our developer will be responsible for extending all the services that's already on the borderline of our property with Thomas Field, all the way down to the GO station. It's considered to be a privately funded project now. Metrolinx moved away from funding the project to privately funded projects for the GO station, so we're undertaking that cost.
Okay. And in your letter to us, you indicated that Metrolinx is, or whatever private organization is going to do this, requires some of your land in order to do the station?
Yes, so what Metrolinx did was they've been doing a study bordering the tracks, both on Thomas Field's side and our side. Now, when the government changed hands and the funding stopped for the station, Metrolinx solicited us to see if we could be able to host the station. So in agreeing with them during our due diligence, they selected for us, we have a concept design, most of them are covered under NDA, that would actually have the station built at the border tracks on our land. Roughly about 5 acres of land will be required for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope I made clear at the beginning, there's no decisions today. This is simply for input, so thank you very much. And if you have any handouts, you can leave them with the staff at the back, and the clerk will distribute them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next delegation is Weldon Johnston. It's actually Kathe. And I wasn't worried about this name.
No.
Sorry, Kathe. Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. My name is Kathe Johnston, and I am a Kitchener resident, and I am a owner of a property that is located in near the Homer Watson Conestoga College area in Doon, specifically on Pinnacle Hill. And I really sincerely appreciate the opportunity of speaking to everyone today and recognizing the objective of the review. I'm here today to respectfully request that the review include revisiting the Regional Official Plan Natural Heritage designation on our property, which includes significant woodland and environmentally sensitive policy area, ESPA 35. So it's called Doon Pinnacle Hill ESPA 35. So the reason that we're making this request today is because of the recent changes that were made to zoning in April by the City of Kitchener. So I'm sure that everyone knows about the Crosby rezoning. So during that process, we met with the City of Kitchener and the Crosby planners, and also with Jane Gurney, who is the represented the regional planning team, and we were talking to them about the recent rezoning and how restrictive it was as a result of this project. And so what we learned through that process was that the rezoning of our property was necessary to align with the regional zoning and the regional plan. So here I am today to say that we were further advised by the city that they wouldn't consider rezoning our property or putting it back to the original zoning if it didn't align with the ROP, and so that we should request a review here today. So that's why I'm here today. And just some background information for everyone here. We understand that the original ESPA 35 was introduced in the 70s, and it wasn't perhaps done as thoroughly, and it was a swath across Pinnacle Hill. And then there was a revisit in 2010, but we were not aware of any detailed studies that were conducted. So when we purchased this property, and we've lived there since 2006, we contacted Kurt Franklin from Weston Consulting in Burlington, who provided us with an opinion and a report. And based on that pre-Crosby planning, which was R1, he told us that we could, in fact, build a large home on the property, and we were planning on a multi-generational home, and that we would have lots of room because the lot itself is 1.98 acres, and that even if we met with the bylaw of 45%, we could build a fairly significant property. So we had this plan in place because we've got some seniors in our family, and we were making this plan, but the new zoning that has just been put in place for our property would not allow us to build anything larger than an 8-foot by 10-foot structure. So no extensions, nothing, we can't touch anything on the land. So after we met with the city and the region, we met with local planning experts from GSP Group and with Dave Stevenson from Natural Resources to fully understand the scope of the new zoning. And they visited the property, and they did quite a bit of work. We saw the aerial views, and we looked at all sorts of material. We have a binder this big, so we've taken a look at it. And so when they visited, the observations that I want to share with you based on what they provided was that that designation surrounds and includes all of our property. So it includes everything on 390 Pinnacle Drive, but only surrounds the other property. So I don't know if you're familiar with that street, but there are probably maybe 7 or 8 houses, and that zoning goes around them, but for some reason comes right through ours. So they couldn't find any reason for this and why there was a difference. And there's no difference between our property and the other properties on the hill. And there's no evidence to support the need to protect the woodland on our property, specifically on the property or the other property. So as a taxpayer, and I see all the work being done and the clearing of topper woods and all this development, and when we see that, it's inconsistent with this new zoning change. So basically, I'm here today just to respectfully request that you include revisiting the designation. That's it.
Thank you, Kathe. I think it's inherent in your conversation. When you say "we," you're talking about yourself.
And my husband.
Yes.
The guy that was originally on the Weldon Johnston. Sorry. So I'm not speaking on behalf of all of Kitchener, just Kathe and Weldon Johnston.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. Just a matter of process. So if this individual wants to carry this forward, do they present the documentation to the ROP committee, or what happens from here that she's now brought it to us?
So you're referring to the documentation that Kathe is saying that they've amassed? I guess I would turn to Mr. Regier.
Yes.
Through the chair,
Michelle.
Sorry, through the chair, if the delegation would be willing to share the information with staff, we'll certainly include it as part of our review.
Thank you. Just wondered how the process happened. Thank you. So make sure you share your documents.
Really? Okay. Well, you know what? It's interesting because the region was going to come and take a look at the property, but then I think they wanted us to actually come through this process. So I don't know if you do an independent or.
Michelle?
Through the chair, we'd be happy to arrange a site visit with you if you'd be willing.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathe.
Thank you, Chair Redman.
Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, if you don't give the information and other things come up, it may get lost in the shuffle. So you have to make sure they're aware of the situation and have all the backing up documents to look fully at your request.
I have Alyssa Bridges' contact information, and I'll make sure to provide her with the details that we were given. Okay.
Thank you, Kathe. And next delegation registered is Sasa Filipovic. I've probably not done that one justice either. Welcome, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sasa Filipovic. I'm the owner of Sunset Hills Estates Corporation. As I indicated in my letter submitted, we developed a subdivision in Maryhill, 38 estate lots, with a street going through as a crescent. On the north side of the subdivision, there's a section of the street that it's sitting kind of empty. It's onto the vacant land, and we wanted to bring in a small parcel of 0.9 hectares in to develop 4 additional lots. This would be kind of completing the subdivision, reduce the responsibility to the township for cleaning and maintaining the sidewalks, boulevards, as new owners of those houses would take care of that themselves. All the services are brought to the 4 lots. All the structures, all the infrastructure is completed. And we applied for this through the land rationalization process with the township, but I guess all of that got moved to the regional official plan review, so they kind of stopped that. Through the rationalization process, there was a piece of land that is landlocked on Charles Street that was considered to be removed out of the rural area, and our piece of land to be inputted in as a straight-on trade, because the piece of land that's landlocked and protected by GRCA is approximately 1.9 hectares, and ours is just 0.9 hectares requested. So the reason I'm here is to request that it's, I guess, added to the review of the official plan, because it is ready to be built. All the tests, all the research has been done. It meets all the criteria. It meets everything with the GRCA, and it's literally a frontage to the street that's already built, and it's not getting used, and township has to clean it and maintain it. So to me, it looks logical to add something like this to complete the subdivision. I submitted the plan, but I didn't know how to get it so it can be shown on the screen.
And I think we do have some paperwork from you.
Yes.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much. It will be added to the input to the report.
Thank you.
I have no other registered delegations. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and address council? You don't look like a shy group. Councillor Vrabanovic.
Councillor Galloway and I just got an email from Mr. Von Bender on behalf of RBJ Schlegel that he was en route and also had a electronic submission that he was forwarding. So I don't, I think traffic may be delaying him, or is that for later tonight?
No, I think he's sending, his letter is en route. I don't think he's en route.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I read it as he was en route. Okay.
Okay. That's, and there will be more meetings if he wishes to come in person. Okay. I'm going to ask one more time, any delegations? Anyone would like to delegate? Would you like to come to the podium, tell us your name? And if you're representing a group, and
I wasn't planning on speaking. My name is Charlene Schiedel. I'm a resident of Cambridge, and thank you for allowing me to speak and hello to my mayor and representatives. I've been at all these meetings since the Hespeler West Subwatershed Study. And then came the ROP. Then came development in our east side lands. And now I'm at the point where, through the help of council and staff, our last bit of land that was part of the Hespeler West Subwatershed Study was brought into the ROP at stage 2, even though it was stage 1 lands. And it's now at the arbitration board, the appeal board. That is something I personally can't afford to fight or represent myself. And I just want everybody to take the time to read 14-019 PLN in the Cambridge reports to show my point of view of why our land should stay in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the delegation? Again, we will take this input under consideration. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will give a written submission too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? And you can all feel free to submit things electronically, and I believe there's at least 3 more meetings. Is that correct, Mr. Regier? So you will have other opportunities. I'm seeing no other questions. Any other business? I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Foxton. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you all for coming. This is a very important issue, as I'm sure you all appreciate.